we've got Moldred in New York
hi.
calling in. Hey, what's going on? You want to talk about post-bereavement hallucinatory experiences?
Oh, thank you for pronouncing that, because I was having trouble with the call screener, especially about hallucinas, whatever.
I have the best words, so.
You have the best words, yeah. But
yeah.
Thank you for saying it so I don't have to. Okay, anyway, that explains the what I've seen sort of out of the corner of my eye, or like in flashes. Both of my parents passed away, and my sister passed away 2 years ago, and I've seen like glimpses of them since, and that PBHE sort of explains that. But what it doesn't seem to explain is back last century, I lived at two locations, and one location I saw something that was an apparition of the person that built the place that I was in, and a few years later I was living in a house in Brooklyn, and I also saw the person who built that house. Now, I had no personal connection with them. The closest I had was when the first apparition that I saw was the late husband of the woman who ran this youth hostel in the south of France that I was staying at, and I was about to go into the wine cellar or beer cellar that he built to get a cold beer. And I saw this sort of apparition, blocking the door. It was a little bit vague, but it was definitely recognizable as a person. And so I didn't go into the wine beer cellar. And somebody came a little bit later and started to walk into the wine or beer cellar, and the ground underneath, it was built on a concrete platform. They stepped just before the doorway, and they fell through, and they injured themselves. So I don't know what that was about. And then the other,
wait a minute. You say, okay. Before you keep going, there's so much on the table that we would need to talk about. I would love to hear what Arden has to say about this. I can see the wheels turning over there.
I appreciate that you understand what a PBHE is, and that you can acknowledge that even when you were seeing your loved ones, that's more likely what it was. Yeah, I find it fascinating that you are more convinced that, hold on a second, I'm trying to get into what you think. I want to know why, when it's with your personal relationships, you understand that it's maybe like a psychological thing happening, but when it's these Carpenter ghosts that you have no relationship to, why suddenly you think it's a supernatural thing going on? Why do you think there's a difference there? I don't understand.
No, I do not believe in the supernatural. If anything happens, it's natural. We just don't have an explanation for it. I'm asking you if you have any idea why or how this might have happened.
Yeah, I think so. Like, even in the instances where you said out of the corner of your eye you thought you saw a loved one after they passed away, I would even be careful about jumping to calling that a PBHE. Like, we, like, humans, especially when it comes to like our visual processing, we fill in so much of the details after the fact. A lot of what you are seeing and gathering, your brain is piecing together. If there's a change of light or a movement or like an insect that's maybe like a little closer than you realize flying by your peripheral vision, your brain can pick that up and fill in so many details that aren't actually there. So yeah, like if you saw these Carpenter ghosts, like, I believe that you think you saw something and that your best explanation for it was these ghosts who constructed these houses or whatever. But I don't see why you are convinced that they were ghosts, and specifically ghosts who built the house you were in. Like, these are leaps that I like don't understand how you can fill in.
Oh, well, the first one, the woman who owned the youth hostel showed me a picture later of her late husband, and that was the guy. That was what I saw. I don't remember seeing that picture before I told her about it.
Moldred, that makes me even more concerned. If you didn't identify that it was the person who constructed the house until you saw a picture after the fact, like not only is our visual processing like inherently flawed, but our memories are actively reconstructed. If you saw a picture and then you went, hey, that kind of looks like that thing I saw out of the corner of my eye one time in a basement of a place, that I would be far more convinced that you like misattributed the characteristics of that thing you thought you saw to the person in the picture than that there was actually a connection there.
I would urge you to look at the sort of impressionability that people have with looking at like police lineups. If they've been primed in any way to pick a certain person out of the lineup, how it can completely mess up some poor dude's life who's just standing there, you know? Yeah, our brains are weird, man. That's kind of, as many leading scientists have said.
To be accurate, it wasn't a basement. It was a concrete terrace that like built on the
okay, no offense, but that detail is kind of irrelevant to whether or not there was actually a ghost.
Actually, I was once mistaken for a biker that the police were looking for, but I managed to come up with an alibi on the spot and got out of having any problems with that. Would you be interested? I'm a minister in the Church of Universal Light, and I performed a couple of secular marriage ceremonies. Would you like to hear exactly what I said?
That to me sounds like something maybe you could share on like the Discord after the fact. I think right now I'm far more interested in the fact that you believe you saw ghosts, but yeah, I don't know, Kenneth. Where are you feeling about this?
Do you believe that you saw ghosts, or do you think that it's just some unexplained phenomena where your brain showed you something?
Yeah, exactly. I don't believe in like the standard viewpoint of ghosts. Being as I run my life by maybe logic, I don't assign 100%. Yes, no to anything. I just think that I'd say about seeing ghosts, I'd give it like a 50% probability.
That's a really high probability. Yeah, that's super high.
If you're living logically and you saw something and you think like, oh, it could be a ghost, it could not, wouldn't the better thing to do to say like, until I can be sure that it was a ghost or a spirit, it's probably not reasonable to believe in that. And until such time, I should probably believe that it was pareidolia or it was like a PBHE or something along those lines, something that we know happens that isn't effective like our human brain's like flawed processing of visual stimuli.
Well, I find the universe more interesting if I entertain the possibility that there's something.
But Moldred, finding the universe interesting if something happens and whether or not it actually is the case are two very different things. I find the universe more interesting if I could turn into a dragon and fly, but that doesn't mean I have reason to believe that maybe I could.
That'd be tight. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, well, I understand that. One of these days, I was going to call into your transatlantic show about being a furry, but I might do that.
Hey,
but, yeah, basically,
go for it, man.
I'd love to be able to turn into a anthropomorphic animal, but I don't expect it to happen, and I don't expect that ghosts are real. I'm just saying that
that's good.
More interesting if I say, everything. See, I'm going to call in one of these days about the logic that people talk about that there's no middle, that things either are or aren't, because I suspect that there's a gray area. Nothing is black and white. There's always a gray area between everything.
But that's just not true. You might not
yeah.
have a certainty of what things are, but they definitely, absolutely are or are not.
It is either true or not true that everything has a gray area.
Oh, Jesus. Kenneth?
This is true, yeah. Like I like to say that the only absolute is that there are no absolutes, and I'm not absolutely sure about that.
Yeah. I would look at some logic stuff before making that call. But Moldred, your call has been one of my favorites today by far. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and yeah, call back.
Okay, live long and prosper.
Hey, thank you, sir.
Right on.
I think that like the big message for today is that, yes, that just because you might want to turn into a big anthropomorphic furry animal doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen.
Yeah. I had a roommate who we're still good friends, and since then I know that they've become more skeptical because I pushed them to watch shows like this. But they used to say that they believed in ghosts, and I was like, why? And they're like, oh, well, it's just more interesting to me to think about that kind of thing. Yeah, it's interesting, but that's why you like write a book. You write a fiction book to like live in that fantasy for a little bit, but then come back to the real world where we acknowledge that like that would be interesting, but we don't actually have evidence to believe that.
Yeah. No, I saw a thing this week about how when the president, I guess, got off his plane for this summit in Europe, right, that's going on, that a cicada landed on him, and the QAnon people thought that was really something because Q was the 17th letter of the alphabet, and the cicadas come around every 17 years. Therefore, some weird shit's going on. And I understand the allure of thinking, I mean, yeah, life would be much more interesting if there was a bunch of crazy stuff going on. But I think it's interesting enough as is, you know?
I think the world is so fascinating as it is. Like, man, have you ever sat out and looked at a night sky and look at like the stars and shit? That's incredible and beautiful. Yeah. And you don't need ghosts or magic or anything to appreciate how beautiful that is. But
yeah, absolutely.